Hey, what's up, everybody? It is I, TJ, co host of the podcast, Now Mind You podcast, back again with a new review of the latest chapter of Tokyo Avengers. Of course, Tokyo Avengers is by Ken Wakui, and today we will be reviewing chapter 270 titled Worth My While. Before we get too far ahead, remember that there will be spoilers, so do what you need to do. All right, let's get into it. Where do we leave off? Basically, the original timeline was dark. Let me get into a summary. Sit back as we witness Shinichiro's descent into madness. He tried to keep it together, but many bad days have a way of piling on you. Let me get into the review. So right off the bat, the timeline doesn't matter. Haruchio is going to be psycho and have scars, and Baji's not going to give a fuck about school. Although in the timeline we're familiar with, he did try to straighten up and fly right for his mom's sake. In fact, that's how he met Chifuyu initially. Haruchio being in and out of juvie is not surprising, nor the fact that he went to jail for swinging his katana at people who were making fun of Mikey. But again, so far in this timeline, there is a noticeable absence. Senju. I get the feeling she may not exist in this timeline. Damn, Mikey is just... Man, it's sad, right? He's an emaciated husk at this point. You can see the muscular atrophy all over his body. Haruchio was not even able to really stomach or handle this reality. Baji has always been extra perceptive, and he calls it out too that Shinichiro has gone through quite a bit of loss. Not to mention, it looks like Mikey's condition has put strain on the family as a whole. Mikey in that bed of flowers reminds me of Dr. Kashu, Domon and Kyoji's father in G Gundam. If you know, you know, right? Like in the intro, you basically see him. But I'd go so far to say that Shinichiro is giving me Domon vibes in this flashback right now. Just like trying to find help, trying to find a solution, trying to get help, you know? That single page of the rage and frustration on Shinichiro's face was powerful. It also makes me think of how this contrasts from descriptions of Shinichiro in the other timeline, where we were told he shared quite a few traits with Takemichi, namely in that he couldn't really fight, wasn't very strong, but was stubborn as hell, super reliable, and had some type of charisma that drew people to him. The man who's putting dents in what appears to be a concrete wall does not resemble those earlier descriptions. I really feel for Shinichiro having worked so hard to become a caregiver for his younger brother, especially sacrificing his body, soul, mind for this, right? Being a caregiver is not easy. Wakasa seems to have just gone full Yakuza. Although I will say, if he's the owner of the bar, him acquiescing to the fact that, you know, another group has all the hostesses occupied seems odd. Let's find another place, Shin. Bro, why? It's your bar. Forget the hostesses, because that's just what it is. But who's trying to pay for their beverages right now, especially when you promise to help your homie deal with his grief? They were like they preface this whole thing with like, let's get drunk, essentially, to, well, for Manjiro, right? To just, you know, acknowledge our grief with Manjiro's passing. Alcohol plus a dark place mentally, somebody's getting hurt. That story of yours, tell me more about it. That's the exact look Mikey has on his face, down to the cat-like irises in the eyes, when violence is about to be inflicted indiscriminately upon anybody nearby. Wakasa looks super worried, like, yo, chill, bro, come on, man, let them go. Like, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. I think Shin killed some of those dudes, right? Tell me where that time leaper is. My predictions and questions. I was hoping it was this chapter, but I hope the next chapter explores the actual trigger for Shinichiro's abilities. And it's like in the text we caught those frat dudes kind of talking back and forth. It seems like the time leaper in question was talking about he needs a trigger, right? How similar, dissimilar, or slash dissimilar are his abilities to Takemichi's, right? If, and it looks like it will, the ability requires Shinichiro to have someone trigger it, I am more and more confident slash convinced that Wakasa is that trigger. Holy shit, it kind of explains why Wakasa would know about the diverging timelines, because he would be Shinichiro's Naoto. Now, what's the layout of the timelines? Again, time travel is always messy to think about. Is Mikey's dark impulse, again, a consequence of Shinichiro altering the timeline? Again, if we're talking about like fusing consciousnesses, you know, what are, again, the implications for characters like Hina and Akun, whose futures were also altered as a result of Takemichi's actions? Where is Shinichiro currently? I feel like that still needs to be answered. How does this wrap up? Again, I'm going to mention my three possibilities. Mikey accepts Takemichi's salvation, but then somehow dies, right? Sanzu lunges at Takemichi, and Mikey makes that sacrifice. Mikey, I should say, that was for the first option. Mikey accepts Takemichi's salvation and finally serves time. Probably not going to happen. Shinichiro reveals himself, and there are some consequences. And again, we gotta highlight the Sano family's like tragedy, Skywalker level. Now we're seeing Shinichiro's pathways to the dark side. Again, Star Wars reference. But at least we can somewhat empathize with his choices. It's more John Q than anything else, right? This is a man desperate to change the fate of someone he cared for deeply and is not afraid of the cause. Are we going to explore the resemblances between him and Takemichi and Mikey's dad? I can't think of it right now, but does July 20th have any significance in the other timelines? It makes me kind of want to go back and pay attention. I still feel, especially like all the scenes with Naoto and Takemichi just talking about important dates, I still feel like Mikey's got the death flags on. And we still have the 2 ages of chaos in Sanzu and Hanma. All in all, I still think this is a great chapter. I'm not too thrilled that we're still stuck in flashback land, but it serves a purpose. Gotta give a shout out to the crew as always. Creepy Kitten, oh my goodness, I'm fumbling all over my words, everyone, sorry. I gotta give a shout out. Creepy Kitten, Guts Guy, Riolu, Moonfox, big shout out to you all. Thank you so much for what you do in the comments. I appreciate the interaction. Shout out to anyone who's giving this a watch and a listen. And yeah, I appreciate you all. If you like what you're hearing, please hit up the main podcast and give it a follow. At Now Mind You Pod, that's NOWMINDYOUPOD on Instagram, and Now Mind You Podcast on most distribution platforms. If you like what I'm doing, that's Tuss4Skate on Instagram, TUSS4_SKATE. Thank you so much, everyone. Peace.